because there's a few people want to watch this back. Okay, so we're live. Please do swear if you feel passionately enough about it. Okay. Right. So Liam and I have kind of prepared a couple of questions that we're just going to fire around. So Liam, lockdown. Currently, how does training look like for you just now as a competitive CrossFitter? And then how does it compare to what you would be doing normally? So just like probably talk through a week or so on the norm, and then tell us kind of like how it's different for you just now.
Cool. So obviously the biggest thing for me right now is I'm training in a driveway instead of the gym with dogs and pigs and stuff running about in the street. But other than that, so we're quite lucky that we got a bunch of equipment that we can still use. So I've got Mike from the athlete program still programming for me. So it's obviously still kind of tailored to the current situation that we're in. But at the minute, I'm still hitting maybe your Olympic lift. So it's everything at the minute. It's like 8x3 hang snatch, hang cleans. There's some death EMOMs that I've been doing that Fraser knows about. James's suffered those as well. But it's mainly like, so for the last 5 weeks. So I don't know how long we've been doing this.
Yeah, this is week 4.
Yeah, so maybe I had a week of it in the gym maybe. So it started from like a 5 rep max each day almost, or find a heavy 5 for that day on your back squat, deadlift, strict press, bench, all this sort of stuff. And then you take 50% of that number and then do a 10-minute EMOM, 10 reps every minute. So obviously that's 100 reps at whatever weight that you're playing with, which is just destroying me, which is every day, different movement. And it's been that way, 5 rep max, then the week after it was 4, the week after it was 3, and this week I'm in the singles. So biggest thing on that is obviously just motivation. For me, I'm training in a driveway trying to hit 1 rep max, whatever, but that's just quite tough. But there's obviously limited gymnastics. We can all still handstand against walls and garden fences and things like that, but there's no real place for me to do any sort of kipping gymnastic movements on a bar. Like I've been using the squat rack because I'm so short that I can do some pull-ups on the squat rack's highest settings off the barbell. But other than that, it's mainly just strength stuff I've been doing. We do have an assault bike that I can do some fitness on, but I don't know what, so I've not really questioned what he's programming for me or why he's programming it for me. I don't really know what it's tailored towards, but it seems to be working. Things hurt and I feel a bit stronger and fitter, but we'll see. It's just that thing of like, you did ask way back at the start, like what competitions we were doing, but we're obviously all
waiting to see what is going to come. So, yeah, Liam, just for those who in the conversation are people who maybe just do class just now.
Yep.
How does your training differ from theirs?
So maybe, obviously the classes, you've got a strength piece and a conditioning piece. So the only time is maybe, the only difference is maybe the time. So I'll maybe spend an hour on a strength piece and then maybe like a 30-minute thing on a conditioning piece. So it's not much different. There's still a strength and conditioning piece, but it's maybe just time. But other than that,
it's just time spent actually training.
Yeah,
that's cool. So like we're talking about like the difficulties of training like in a driveway. I think it just goes to show that obviously the environment's important. I can relate to that. So like a few of the guys that were on early, like as sweet a setup as I have here, like it's not the same like currently like training with no one around and no music and like so like it's the little things that like have gone like such a long way in terms of creating like that environment, which I found difficult. It wasn't a day until I realized that I didn't have a timer that things got tough. But But I think like I look at it in the current situation that we're in, and if you're in a position currently to be doing more than someone that you can compete against, like you absolutely have to be making the most of it. So there's no point in kind of sitting and feeling sorry for yourself because everyone's kind of in the same boat. So like if you're at an advantage, take it. If you're not, you just have to work like a damn sight harder, so that you're not lagging behind. But yeah, the environmental thing at the minute is the kind of main thing, as well as the lack of kit. I have got some questions that I'm going to fire into some other people. So where's Kathy? Where's Kathy Upton?
Bottom middle of my screen.
Kathy.
Hello.
So for those of you who don't know Kathy, some of the St Andrews members may never have met Kathy, but Kathy is probably one of our longest serving members in Dundee. She's also one of our most experienced competitors. She competed at Strength and Depth recently at the start of the year, which she won. She did brilliantly. She's also competed in the online age grade qualifiers, like to qualify for the CrossFit Games. She's done that the last 2 years in a row now. 3 years in a row now. Thanks, Kathy. So yeah, she's got some nous on the old competitive front. So Kathy, how's training for you just now?
As Liam said, motivation is obviously quite a big thing. I tend to pick and choose what I want to do, which is probably not great. But I'll always try and make myself do something, because obviously it helps the mood, gets you going. Again, same, doing the upper body strength is more difficult because obviously it's not pull-up bars and things like that to be able to keep your pull-ups going. I do a lot of dumbbell work. That's obviously easier to do. I'm fortunate to have a barbell, but it's nice to have experienced people around you when you've got a barbell, so you can feel a bit more confident. So that's probably gone by the wayside a wee bit. Yeah,
but so I mean, it's important to know as well that you work in a hospital. So yeah. So I mean, you're probably busy anyway. So is your volume, obviously, are you still training to the same volume, or is it noticeably different in terms of volume of training, or?
It's probably less. I'm doing sort of smaller workouts now, and then doing them every day. So that kind of helps. I've changed my shift pattern. I was doing 12-hour shifts, and there was going to go 4 days without doing anything, because you're home at 9 o'clock at night, you're leaving at 7:30 in the morning. So that was quite difficult. So when I changed my shift pattern, it's much easier to do, but it's probably keeping in your head when you're coming home, right, go home, just do it. Just get on with it. And once you've done it, that's it done. So that's what I was doing this evening.
Yeah, that's good.
Get something going. So
yeah. Right, it's 8 o'clock. So I'm going to bring everyone in here, and we can just start our claps. So.
Anybody running?
We pop it.
No point in me going anywhere because I don't have any neighbours. This is the closest I've got to neighbours right now.
Yeah, same here. My clap is more useful on speaker.
So last week I was going to like stand outside with like my pan and my like wooden hip. I was like, you are still not going to hear me. I'm trying so hard.
Oh my god, I hear bagpipes. He's there. Not back in.
Well, I can hear the bagpipes.
Steph, you're looking pretty cozy.
B.
Yeah.
I've buggered my back.
Oh, really?
Oh no.
Yeah, like I can't even go to the toilet. It's that bad.
Oh.
No.
So,
What did you do?
I cleaned a really, really light barbell, and I've just jarred it somehow. So I'm literally, I need toilet assistance. It's that bad. So
I'll come and catheterize you if you want.
It's like I don't know what to do. I'm gonna pee the bed.
Now, Lorraine, there's an offer I could not refuse.
Looks like it.
I'll come and catheterize you if you like.
So yeah, thank you.
Make her laugh. That'll be slightly worse. I'll be sore.
Okay, we'll just wait on a few coming back. Lucy, Julia, Manuela, Jill.
How does that feel? Do you want to watch anything on TV tonight? Or are you happy?
Okay, so that's, oh, there's Lucy. Jen should hopefully not just be too far away. Right, so Kathy, just bringing you kind of back in here. Within the four walls of the gym, based on kind of what Liam said around about his training, like as a master, like how does your training compare to like what the sound of Liam's is? Like in terms of like your volume, where like your time's most spent, bearing in mind like your competitive stuff, like how does your training differ as a master?
I find, I suppose, a lot of time I'm doing a lot of stuff on my own, which can be sort of not, which isn't very motivating, but I find it easier if I've got a competition to work towards. That makes it much easier to train. Then you've got that motivation already there. I try and work on my weaknesses. I try and get my cardio up a bit more, because that's one of the big things that helps you through a competition. Even if you're getting tired, as long as you know in your head that you can push yourself past that point of, right, I don't want to do it anymore. If you can get through that, then that really helps. The cardio really helps with that. And sort of doing the training and getting better at your things like your pull-ups, toes to bar, they're my worst. Snatch for me is a big thing, so that's something else I try and work on. And if you can go into a competition with a bit more confidence in being able to do those, it really, really helps. Because you can get to a stage where you say, well, I know I can do that, so I'll push that bit, but this bit I know I'm going to take a bit more time over, and that kind of thing. So
in like the masters side of competing, Kathy, like what's the line that separates like a average master from a good master? Like in your opinion, like what's the difference? Like what's the difference between you going to the CrossFit Games and not going to the CrossFit Games? Like why are those girls going to the CrossFit Games compared to where you're at? Like what is it in your opinion that's lacking?
I suppose doubt is a big thing.
Okay.
Not a lot of it's not knowing what you're up against, because there's not a lot around for us. And in America, they're much further ahead in the masters than we are.
Okay.
So the strength and depth, there's one girl I knew that was going to be sort of my nemesis, and she's kind of the only one in the UK that sort of both at the same level. So that's quite difficult. And we're not in the elite group, if you like. To get in there, you've got to compete against that sort of level of person. Yeah. So
it's just the sort of lack of opportunity to test yourself against those people, which I absolutely get. Where's the biggest improvement for you to be made? Is it in conditioning, or is it in your weightlifting, or is it in your gymnastics, or?
For me, it would be gymnastics, definitely.
Okay.
And Weightlifting, yeah, definitely weightlifting. In order to be able to go to the games, my weightlifting needs to be a lot better. I need to be able to snatch much more, but I have the fear. I've got the fear in my head, which is probably another thing. You know, that doubt that creeps in, where you're thinking, "Oh, no, I can't," and you probably could if you just let your head go and just got on with it. So that's a massive thing.
Yeah, so certainly like around the scene of like CrossFit like comps that we've been to, like when I sit back and I watch the Masters athletes, I always think, or I always get the impression that the ones who have the high skill stuff like nailed down tend to be the ones that do better. So like you kind of ones that can maybe do pull-ups, or I've got bar muscle ups, or can walk on their hands.
Yes, definitely.
The ones that excel, then maybe their lifts are kind of on par with the others, but they have that high skill aspect to their repertoire.
Absolutely.
Is that fairly accurate?
Yes, yeah, because some of the ones that, so like the dumbbell ones and the snatch and the bar burpees, I did really, really well and became really high in the grouping in the world. But then when it came to doing the lifting, and the things like toaster bar, I fell back on those. And the row, well, I can't even complain about that anymore, because apparently a wee shorty won the men once. I thought, oh, that was my excuse.
Yeah, I think I'll cover that. I think Liam's got a question for me that's going to cover the whole short person rowing thing. So, Kathy, I've got another couple of questions for you, Kathy.
Okay.
Kathy, if you don't mind me asking, share with the group how old you are.
62.
Okay, and how long have you been competing for?
I think must be about 4 years now. So
at the age of 58, what made you want to do it, or how did you get into it? Like why at 58 did you decide, right, competitive CrossFit is the way?
Well, I didn't at first. I've always been, if I'm doing something, I like a goal. You know, whether it's running, whether it's just anything. If you've got a goal, then it gives you something to train towards. And then when I got bored of the running, then I started to do these things like the rat race, where it was orienteering, climbing, and that was all a part of the run. It was cycling. Then I got bored with that, and then eventually a few other things. I then got into CrossFit, and I started to really enjoy it. I think the very first competition I did was in Glasgow. I think that was when you were at.
It would be the SFN.
That's it. Yeah, that was the very first one I did, and I absolutely loved it. It was great fun.
Brilliant.
And it just kind of went from there. And I think then the very first CrossFit Games I did, Liam judged my pull-ups and they were rubbish. And then I thought, I'm going to learn how to do them. And then there was something else. I thought, I'm going to learn how to do that. You know, just kept on going and giving myself small goals. And
yeah, it sounds like majorly being driven by like the accomplishment of being able to do like the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next thing. That's cool. And then Kathy, my last one. So I think Liam and I will get there on this as well. But what's the vibe like when you go to these Masters competitions? So generally, like CrossFit as a sport as a whole, like people are generally pretty friendly.
Yes, Masters is brilliant.
Within our own community. So what's it like when you go to a Masters competition? Are people like that, or does it become like what you would expect in competitive sport, where people take it seriously and show their competitiveness, or what's it like? What's it like on that front?
It's great fun. It's very friendly. Everybody chats. The music's sort of our ear. It's just really good fun. Everybody chats. I've made loads of new friends, and different competitions you go to, you see, you meet up with them again, and it's all chat. How you getting on? How's your training going? No, it's really good fun.
And do you stay in touch with a lot of them, away from, like, so when you're back training at home, do you hear from those people that you compete against as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
It is one of the friendliest groups. I've gone to competitions and you see the other groups and nobody speaks to each other, but the Masters is definitely, especially in the older age groups, they're
No,
definitely
that's cool.
really friendly and really encouraging as well. So that's it is.
Yeah. That is cool. Thanks, Kathy. Cool to hear your insight there. So thanks for that. Liam, I'm coming back to you. I've got another question for you. I think you're going to ask me the same thing. As most of you know, Liam stands at 5 foot, virtually nothing. So, as a smaller athlete and like in the realms of CrossFit, what's the mentality against, or what's your mentality about training and competing against, well, like someone like myself? So like you're 5 foot now, I'm 7'5". Liam's like 67 kilos. I'm nearly 100. So like in terms of like the different body shapes and body types, very, very different. So talk us through that, Liam.
So training wise, it's like we all have major weaknesses. So for mine, it's like I know that if I go to a competition and you've got your 1 rep max that always pops up, or if there's an 80, 90 kilo barbell placed in front of me, you're going to move that way faster or way more consistently than I will. So training wise, the bulk of my stuff is based on getting stronger and moving a heavier barbell way more efficiently, or whatever, like from singles, maybe sets of 2 or whatever it is, to try and, like, I'm never going to beat, say, yourself at, let's say, a workout DT with a 70 kilo barbell. Or if you chuck an assault bike or a rower, well, Reggie Fassa obviously ruined that for me. But we'll get to him. We'll go with the assault bike, but things like that. So training wise, I try and keep in my head, right, cool, those are the things I need to focus on. I'm never going to be the best at, but my goal is essentially I hate using terms like close the gap and this thing, but essentially if I can stay closer to yourself in one of those workouts, and it then puts me in a better position for whatever the next workout may be. But it's that thing of like, competition wise, if like going into a workout, like cool, right, I know I'm not going to do the best of this one, which I've seen a few people go into those workouts freaking out, like they don't want to do it. They know they're maybe going to come last, so they go in with a mentality that they're going to come last. So for me, if I go into a workout like that, I'll try and sort of pick apart the workout of, right, maybe I can make up time on, let's say, the double unders to give myself maybe a little bit extra time on the bike to stay closer to these guys. Because if I can get on the bike first, I'm still coming off last, but it may give me that little bit extra to finish maybe, I don't know, a minute behind you instead of 5. But things like that. But it's that thing of like, we're all going to have, like, if you put me in front of a wall ball, I'm never going to beat you on it. But if we go something, I don't know, like a air squat, I might have a better chance of that. But it's that thing of like, I've never really found it, maybe not demoralizing, but going into a workout that I know that, cool, I'm not going to do the best at this, I won't really let it mess with me so much. I'll still go in with a plan of, right, cool, I'm not going to win this one, but I'll do the best I can possibly do in this workout, which is the way I kind of try and focus on it. But I'm assuming it's the same the other way. But
so I think you've actually come across like a pretty important point, like, and it's really a competitive mentality. But for those of you who have probably worked with me on stuff like this, like, I'm a meticulous planner. So I do not go into a workout without knowing exactly how I'm going to do it. And I'll have run every different possibility or possible scenario as to how to approach it. And then I'll do it. So I think, like, when you step on the floor, if you're sure in your plan and you're sure that you've done the work, like, regardless of the outcome, if you hit the workout exactly how you intended to and you stuck to your plan, and hey, if you came last, but you executed the workout exactly how you had planned to and how you wanted to. So all it really highlights is, hey, everyone on that day was better at that workout than you were. Like, you've got some work to do. There's absolutely no point in like getting hung up over like, it's that coulda, woulda, shoulda. But if you executed it like exactly how you intended to, like, you've done your job there. To go to the reverse of Liam's question, as a big guy against small guys, do the big stuff well so that you're competitive against the big people, and be better than all the big people at the small people stuff is exactly how I approach that. So like if you can be better than all the big people and beat a few of the small people at the small people workouts, which exist, your gymnastics, your high skill stuff, generally you're probably going to place somewhere in the middle. Save your strengths for your strengths. So like if you're like a specialist, like go and excel in those areas. But really, like, we are jack of all trades. So like if you can be better than all the other big people at the small people stuff, you're generally going to do all right. Which is why I spend more time doing gymnastics and bodyweight conditioning than anything else.
Yeah.
As a bigger athlete, like weightlifting and stuff comes fairly naturally, like mass shifts mass. Yeah, predominantly my time spent is currently gaining high volume gymnastics, because the aim is to be better than all the other big people at gymnastic style things. There is that common stigma we've got here, Liam. There is that common stigma around like the small person, big person thing, but currently the trend is that people are starting to dispel these myths. For those of you who follow like the sanctional events that go on around the world, a guy, Reggie Fassa, who's from Sunderland, won a rowing event, and it was just a rowing event. And he is about the same height as Liam. But he's teeny tiny. I could pretty much stand on his head if I really wanted to. But super powerful and super fit. Like, give him a follow on Instagram, and look at every Tuesday, look at the splits that he's putting out on the rower, and all it is work rate. It's not really anything else to it. It's just actual work rate and fitness. Like, he can maintain a 190 heart rate for a very, very long time. It's a mentality to just pretty much put himself there and stay there, which is ultimately why Matt Fraser is better than everyone else. Like, he's a small guy and who excels at workouts like that. The other one that stands out for me was in Dubai last year. So I don't know if anyone watched the Fittest in Dubai, which has just come onto Netflix, but the workout on there that stands out for me is the workout acid bath. So it was like it's just an erg off. It was a 500 meter ski, a 500 meter row, and then a 1,000 meter bike. And I think Matt Fraser was the smallest in the field, and he finished second. So people dispel those myths. Absolutely. So yeah, but yeah, that's my approach to that. Is pretty much be better than the people that are stigmatized, like in your group, and generally you'll probably do all right. Is how I see that. Liam, I'm going to come to you again before I think I'm going to go to Kirsty next. Biggest faults you see in competitive athletes, training and competing?
Training wise, I see a lot of volume or a lot of workout, say, with zero intensity.
Liam, why is that bad?
So if we go like, oh, cool, you've done your 12th workout for today, but every workout you've done, you've completed that at what, 50%, something like that. Obviously missing the intended stimulus of the workout. If you've got the workout Fran and you finish it, if you have the capacity to finish that workout in 4 minutes, and then because it's your 12th workout of the day, you finish it in 10 minutes, what's the point? Well, you're just wasting your time. Yeah, cool. I'm not impressed by you doing 12 workouts in a day. If you do an hour of work, 2 hours of work, whatever it is, but you complete those workouts. You don't have to go 100% all the time. Don't get me wrong on that one, but complete the work to the intended stimulus. So we see it all the time, guys. Even in our gym, you all know who you are. doing 4 or 5 hours of training, and the guys that maybe just do class are still beating them, or maybe like it's the numbers, or when you go up against them in a workout, there's no improvement there. So doing 7 hours of training or whatever it is probably isn't going to produce an impressive result. Yeah, be impressed by the intensity, not the volume. But that's what I see from not just in our gym, all over on the internet. Guys I've competed against, that post X, Y, and Z on the workout. You're like, cool, you're not intimidating me with those scores, because like you're not doing anything. You might as well have not done that workout, and done the first 3 to the best you possibly could, and then chilled for the rest of the day, done something else. But if that makes sense, I hope that makes sense to people. I don't know.
Yeah, I understand. So, what about like competing? Like, what's your experience of, like, what do you see happening at competitions that you're just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that?
So I don't know. Sometimes it's like I like to call them superheroes or superstars, not superheroes, superstars. Like if you go out, right, cool, we've got whatever the workout is, and you know it's 20 minutes long, or you know it's going to be a long one, and they come flying out the gate at 1,000,000 miles an hour to maybe I don't know, intimidate the guys that they're with, or show off to people to get out in front and be on the cameras or be on the photos or whatever it is, and then suddenly they die. And then you finish bottom of that table because you just came out with, like you were saying earlier, you come in with a game plan. Some of the workouts I'll go into with no game plan because I generally don't know how it's going to go, but I probably won't come out as fast as possible. I'd rather be able to speed up at the end of a workout than at the start of the workout. But that, and then from the competition, the only solo or sort of individual competitions I've done is the sort of body weight related ones, and that little warm up area in the top heat it's a weird place to be. Jamesy's been there and seen it, and as he's competed at it, that top heat is like guys walking about like a pissing competition. They're all asking silly questions. Like one of the workouts was you got to do 20 ring muscle ups. The guy you were competing against, he's walking around the thing, mad dogging people, asking, could you do 20 ring muscle ups unbroken? I can. Could you? I'm going to do it. Could you do 20?
That's funny because I know who that was.
You're like, who cares? Like, you do you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So all that, and then what happens there was, in result, a lot of people had said to him, yeah, I'm going to try. Like, my answer was, I don't know. I've never had to do 20 ring muscle ups, but I'm going to try because you just told me you were going to, so I'm going to try. But I'm going to be smart about it. Like, if I know if I get to 10, 15 and I need to break, I'm going to break. Said person goes out and does 18, and then proceeds to fail the next 5 reps because he thought, well, he made a mistake, didn't he?
That could not have happened to a nicer blokey there.
Yeah, a lot of guys winding themselves up, or like we've all seen it in the warm up area. If it's like a 1 rep max, and then I've seen it like a couple of the guys we compete with, they see guys lifting maybe heavier than the weight they're going to hit if maybe it's your top end weight that you see people warming up with, it then turns people right, cool, well shit, I need to go try and open at my 1 rep max. Like 9 times out of 10 that's going to go wrong. But it's just like, again, it all comes down to a game plan. So it's just silly little things like that, getting caught up sort of dog chasing its tail, copying what everyone else is doing. Or the other side of it, obviously we got people who go into workouts and they doubt themselves, like Kathy was saying, and they go way too slow instead of too fast. So you get the other side of that as well. But again, it's just going in. It's all in the training, like competing. Obviously, your Annie Thor's daughter, I think, said it, or David's daughter, that when they compete, they want that to be easier than the training they do. So if you go in and you've trained and you know what you can do, if you're faced with, I don't know, 50 pull-ups at the start of a workout, if you know you can't do 50 pull-ups and unbroken and then do something else afterwards, don't try it. Don't be silly. Don't be an idiot. Or if there's a deadlift bar, right? Cool, it's 100 kilo deadlift, right? Sweet. My 1 rep max is 150 or whatever it might be. I've got 20 of these to do. I'm probably not going to hang on to massive sets. I'm just going to move. I'm going to move well. And try and get through them without being an idiot, essentially. But that's what I see. What about yourself?
So in terms of training, complexity does not equal fitness.
Yep.
Like if you look at what the fittest people around do, it's pretty simple stuff that they're doing all the time.
Yeah.
They're just doing it really, really well. And there's this unnecessary drive that everything has to be complicated. Like just strip it back and make it simple. Like if you want to get better at snatch. If you want to get better at rowing, row. If you want to get better at doing mixed modal CrossFit, do mixed modal CrossFit. Like it's absolutely not rocket science, but I see loads and loads of like various, and like these are guys that are selling programs, athletes that follow programs, and like everything is so complicated. Big fancy barbell complexes that look good on Instagram, but really serve no purpose. On a training front, agree with you on the volume thing. Like I stand by the thing that unless you're pushed for time, one session shouldn't take you any longer than 90 minutes. Before you're thinking about breaking it and coming back later on in the day if you're going to do 2 a day. Like anything longer than 90 minutes, you are losing intensity, and it's pointless. Likewise, spending hours on end in the gym and trying to break it up into 5 different sessions, like even that like doesn't work. Just get in, get the work done, go. With the end goal that, like you say, competing's the easy bit. Like competing is absolutely the easy bit. Other basic things like in training, but also fun to the competitive thing. Simple things like warming up effectively and cooling down effectively. I have pretty much a standard rule that I don't lie on the floor at the end of a workout, or certainly the maximum amount of time to lie on the floor is 20 seconds. Because it's just not an effective way to recover. And you'll see straight after an event, I am straight back into that warm-up area and onto a bike, or I'm stretching, or like those are little things that are going to get you ready for the next event, or allow you to recover. And on a training front, probably more so now than I ever have, probably because I'm getting a little bit older, applying that as well. Like making sure my warm-ups are more thorough, my cool-downs are more thorough. Kathy can probably testify that that's probably fairly super important. So yeah, and then things that I see on a competitive front, and it's so funny that we're having this conversation given that Kathy's like said that like the competitive scene in the masters category is so friendly, but like some of the places I've been and some of the people I've met, you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to be the back of you. But yeah, warm-up areas being dick measuring contests essentially. Adam and I had a pretty bad experience of that just before we came into lockdown when we were at Battle for Middle Ground. And it is everyone just trying to show off in the warm-up area. And it's that thing, we'll see you at the end of the workout, guys, but you bash on and wreck yourself in the warm-up. Other things on the competitive front, people not knowing where they're at. One of my first like big comps I went to was a comp called Battle of Britain. Joe and Kirsty have since been to that comp since I was there. Sorry, that's my house phone ringing. Have both like been there since I was there. But the very first year I went there, the guy in the lane next to me, we opened our first event was like a lifting complex, and it was a hang clean, a front squat and a jerk. And as the RX male category, like the support was like pretty, like it was quite full. So I was right by the crowd, like I was in a corner lane because I qualified quite low. So I was right in a corner lane, but then the boy next to me was like a bigger guy, like a lot bigger than I was. And so we go out and we load our bars up, and I opened it like at that time something fairly conservative. Like I think I maybe opened it like 110, with a view that I hadn't really had a great warm up, because the warm up, like, so there wasn't a lot of kit in the warm up area. So the guy next to me loaded up his bar to 150. And then like the guy, like, so there's a guy next to me in the crowd who was giving me jip. He was like, "You're a big guy. Why are you opening at 110?" I was like, "Well, we'll see."
Yeah.
So I went up and I hit those numbers that like I expected. So like at that stage, I think I maybe finished about 130, 130. Yeah, about 130-ish I finished at. And the guy next to me that was going to open at 150 bombed out. Like he didn't log a score because he opened at 150, he missed it. He missed it again. He went to 140, he missed it. He went to 130, he missed it. And he was just, he'd just like completely and utterly lost the plot. But he'd just been totally drawn in like by the occasion of like my one round max, like his one round max had to have been around about that 155 mark to even have considered opening at 150. Yeah. But like he just hadn't got it right. Like work up to that as opposed to going like Billy Big Balls from the start.
Yeah, that's all that's about as well. You got to wait for 10 minutes before you get out. So
yeah, so just like and like these are really obvious, like these are like really obvious things that people get wrong, but yeah, things like lack of strategy, like you've kind of covered them all. But yeah, people do some daft things. Like one of the daftest things, or one of the craziest things, like we openly enjoy now, is athlete briefings. I might actually bring Kirsty into this, because Kirsty and I have had some absolute crackers of athlete briefings. So one of my first experiences of an athlete briefing was like it was the Castle Games individuals, and Kirsty was there as well. But some of the questions that get asked at athlete briefings are the most ridiculous things you've ever heard. So Kirsty, give us your most ridiculous thing you've heard at an athlete briefing.
Oh, you put me on the spot now. People ask silly things like, do you have to hold the rope in two hands and shit like that? And you're like if you're going to skip, you need to hold the rope in two hands. Like, it's not stupid stuff like that. Like, yeah. I can't think what like the worst thing that guy at Castle Games was pretty ridiculous, but yeah.
So I think this is the same guy that we were talking about. Was it was like a kettlebell. It was a kettlebell snatch, and it's like kettlebell snatch and burpee box overs, and it's that thing where like the judges. The guys that deliver athlete briefings are generally pretty good. Like they cover all the points, but they were demoing and covering the kettlebell snatch, the movement standards for the kettlebell snatch. So it was like the kettlebell had to come from the floor, and it was like you did the kettlebell snatches and you had to finish put the kettlebell down and pick your sandbag up and go for a run. So the guy turned to the judge and he was like, so the sequence went like toes to bar, burpee box overs, kettlebell snatches, then you ran. So his question was, after the last kettlebell snatch, could he put the kettlebell on his box? I was like, well, yeah, but gonna have to take it off again because you've got to go back to the burpee box overs. But he was like, oh, that's fine. Like I'll put it on the box. And right enough, so like it was a 3-round workout. So he put his kettlebell on the box. Then he did his toes to bar, came back to our box, and he had to take his kettlebell off the box. It's like, that's the most stupid thing I've ever seen. But yeah, crazy. Kirsty, got some questions for you.
Uh-oh.
How's your injury?
It's pretty good. I mean, I don't think it can be any better than it is right now.
Yeah, so you went from initially being in a 30-degree locked position.
Yep.
You're
Well,
now,
so like 0 to 30. So it was like straight when if I say when I wasn't moving it, like it sounds silly, but unless I was intentionally sitting, like doing exercises to bend my knee, it was locked straight.
Okay.
And I had to sleep with it all like locked in place, which I still do. Walk with it. I had a big, what I can only describe as a giant condom that went right up my leg because I wasn't allowed to take it off in the shower. Yeah.
Brilliant. And what you're now 30, you're 0 to 60 now.
Yes.
Brilliant. And then what's the rehab script?
It's meant to be to 70 on Saturday.
Brilliant. There you go. You'll be passing below parallel in no time. And then currently so like you're obviously managing an injury, you're still trying to exercise. So
can I pause you just for a minute? James, do you not have electricity? I thought the person had just completely disappeared.
I've just actually realised there, like my room's not actually this dark. I'm just literally sitting there contemplating, I should probably go and put a light on.
Sorry, Fraser. Yep.
So you're obviously managing this injury just now.
Yep.
What's rehab and what does training look like just now?
So rehab's not a lot at the moment.
Why is that? Because of the current COVID situ, or so you can't get to hospital, or just because it's too early?
No, unsure. So I went to hospital for the appointment I was meant to have. I was meant to have technically started physio at the moment, but from speaking to other members who are physios for the NHS and stuff, there's actually not a lot that they would have got me doing that I'm not doing. So basically sitting, bending my knee to 60 degrees and getting moving. At the moment, whilst I am walking about and stuff, it's still locked. I need to keep increasing it. Every 2 weeks I get to increase my degrees. When I get to 90-degree bend and I'm relatively comfortable with it, I'm allowed to take the brace off. So yeah, rehab is not really I've got to try and sit in with my legs straight and lift it up and down. That's hard. You can see my leg full on twitching, trying to engage everything that I need to do for that. But yeah, bending it and stuff feels better. Lifting it up and down feels way better with the brace on than it did. So the other day I had hollow rocks. I'm able to lift that foot off the ground and keep it there during the hollow rocks. I don't need to prop my other foot underneath it or anything. So yeah, rehab wise, I feel pretty good. Training wise, I mean, you guys might be hating it, but I am really enjoying training at the moment.
So you're saying you're enjoying training, but what does your training consist of? What's your daily looking like? How many times a week are you training just now? What's it predominantly based around?
So I do a lot of pushing and pulling. This sounds weird, telling you what I'm doing, but you're the one that gives me what I do. But yeah, I train 4 times a week at the moment. Each training session lasts, I mean, unlike you guys who you're talking about, if you might split your training up into different sections, I don't. My training lasts about an hour and a half and I pretty much just go back to back, get it done. I'll do it around Zoom classes that I'm taking. So at the moment I'm on the 10 a.m. class. So as soon as 10 a.m. class is finished, I go and train. I then take the 4 p.m. class in the evening and then I go out walk and I get my distance or my steps in or my, yeah, whatever. So training wise, yeah, I've normally got I train a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. One day will be a lot of pushing and pulling. One day will be glute sort of stuff, RDLs, that sort of thing, with some core stuff mixed in. This week has been a bit of a mix. Today I had, I don't even know, what did I have today? I had a 40-minute AMRAP. That's what I had. It was long. I had a Russian push-up EMOM. That wasn't fun. Yeah, and then like more sort of like shoulder stuff. So it wasn't like the sort of pushing and pulling like we're used to. It was like dumbbell like pullovers and stuff like that. I don't have a pull-up bar, but I've got like pull-up bands that I link round my fence or my gate and I pull down on. I just adjust like the height of what I'm sitting at or like the thickness of the band. I've got a rower. Sometimes it's arm only. Sometimes it's one foot goes in, the other foot sits on a skateboard and I row back and forward. Yeah, I'm way happier now that I can handstand again though.
Nice.
This has made my week.
That's good. That is good. Since your injury, like
Yep.
how's this change in mindset been? So goals that you maybe had, like how have they changed because you've picked up an injury, or where does that take you now? Because obviously it's a fairly lengthy layoff. So how has that changed the picture for you?
I don't really know. So like my plan after Euro Champs wasn't to compete again until September, October. But the plan wasn't because I had my leg in a brace. It was because I was going to get freaking strong. And I mean, I'm still going to do that, but yeah, just in a slightly different way than I anticipated doing. Like at the moment, I don't really have goals because I'm not sure I want to commit to them. I would really, really like to be back for the Open.
So October, 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We will see.
I don't intend to RX any of them, but yeah, I'd like to be back by then.
Nice, that's good.
Apart from that, I don't have goals because for me, Glasgow Classic was like a real highlight last year, and that's obviously not on the cards for me anymore. So yeah, like for me to say I want to be back by September and competing there is just not realistic. Like I'm also not silly enough to know that at the moment, like my rehab and my injury is going well. Like I'm where I would like to be with it, but I know that like at some point there could be a setback, and I don't at the moment really want to have a sort of end goal that then I don't achieve. Like missing things and that at the moment like is heartbreaking enough without have goals that I set now pass me by and me not be able to make.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely get that. Absolutely
like
get that.
at the moment, like I am so keen to come back stronger. I am so keen to like put work in now and do it again. But like I have never had the fear of doing an air squat until now. Like I know that I'm going to be able to do that again, but like my 1 rep max back squat before this was like 112. Like I don't know if I will ever have, like I was a wimp before this. I don't know if I will ever have the confidence to do that again. Like doing your first box jump all over again, knowing that like my knee's going to take a lot of impact at that point. How am I going to feel? Like, yeah, don't really know like what's going to happen with it, but just do what I can now.
It's going to be pretty gradual, I would have thought, and just take it each day as it comes, like when you get back into some degree of normality. Kirsty, I've got 2 quick fire ones for you before I think Liam's going to quiz me here. Team or individual?
I like team better, but like there is a certain buzz that you get from going individual.
Why team? You've got 2 sentences.
Why team?
Yeah.
It's fun. I'm I'm not good enough to, at the moment anyway, or like, I'm not good enough to win an individual competition or even think about podiuming at an individual competition. But like, there is something about stepping out with a group of people that you're like, hey, we're pretty good at this. So yeah.
Nice. Best CrossFit experience, CrossFit competitive experience so far?
Oh, I think I would have to. Oh, I don't know. I think I would have to say Glasgow Classic last year.
Nice. That's cool. Cool. Right, Kirsty. Thank you. Thanks for your insight on your injury and your recovery to injury.
I mean, I almost cried.
Yeah, I thought that, but you held it together well.
Like just.
Right, Liam. I believe you've got some questions for me.
Yeah, so going off of you asking Kirsty what our best competition experience was, what would you say to date, could be more, would be your biggest competition mistake?
So I think when you mentioned this, I said I was going to have to think about this. So the biggest mistake in a workout I've ever made at competition, and I only came up with this like when I was out on a walk earlier on, back in 2018. I'm trying to think who was there. Joe Forrester was there. Kirsty was there. It was a SFFC down in Ayr in 2018, and Joe Avery and I were the partnership, and the day started off really, really well. We're pretty much finishing a consistent second all the way through the workout, so we were placed really, really well. And then we hit these 3 6-minute AMRAPs that were scored each. So there was 3 scoring opportunities. So one was like assault bike, kettlebell swings, and sumo deadlift high pulls. And we were like, at that stage, Sam Rowlands did all of our programming. So all we did was 32 kilo kettlebell swings and 32 kilo sumo deadlift high pulls. So naturally, we smashed that event. And we were like, yes, full send into the next one, which was like skiing, squats, and burpee box overs. And then you finish with a ski. And again, like a machine workout, happy as Larry. Boom. Finished like second on that event. So this is like, right, let's just go and smash them all. After this, like, we're guaranteed a win. And it was like double unders, like a heavy dumbbell push press, pistols, and handstand push-ups. So adrenaline's totally got the better of us. And right, the plan, because I've always got a plan. I'm going to do 120 double unders unbroken. So I rattle out 120 double unders unbroken. And Joe's like, right, I'll do the majority of the push press. You finish them off and I'll do all the pistols. So we battled through it. And at this stage, we've gone so hard and we've totally negated anything that we knew. We get to handstand push-ups and we are failing reps left, right, and centre. Now, if anyone knows Joe Avery is an absolute demon at handstand push-ups. Now, let me tell you, on that day, I scored more handstand push-ups than he did. But we literally fell apart. It was like everything, it just went against everything I knew, but we just got so overexcited by the fact that we were doing so well. And we finished last. So we went from like sitting really pretty, like ready to podium, didn't even need the final to happen, we're going to podium, to being like, we're not on the podium because we finished last.
We messed this up. What?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that on the day if there's another workout afterwards, like mentally, and what does that do to the next workout?
So mentally, I was like, I think the first thing my initial thought was probably need to do some more handstand push-ups under fatigue. But it's like once it's done, it's done. Like knowing like every workout's a different opportunity, so you just have to like if it's good or if it's bad, you park it and you get ready for the next one. Like there's no point in over and analyzing it there and then. Like you can do that like when the time is right, like on the Monday after or like on the way home or the next day or whenever, but there's no point in analysing it there and then. Like that's not going to benefit you or anyone else. So So yeah, just park it and focus on the next one was the key.
Yeah, I'll normally say like give yourself 5 minutes to be annoyed, and then the next one's still going to happen. So you need to focus on that and not what's just happened. But that was cool. So programming wise, you're programming for other people just now. You used to program for yourself, if I'm right, yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're following the JST program. What do you prefer? Obviously, I know you're still on that just now. But what made you make the jump? Was it a certain type of programming, a certain type of coach that dictates whether you program for yourself or someone else, or what decides?
So the move onto a competitive program came for me after that Competitve CF I spoke about. So it was after that first Competitve CF did at the SFN. So that's where the jump went for me. And I went on to JST then, but I didn't really stick it out, mainly because what I was getting at that stage from them was was literally exactly the same as what I was getting from class. And at that stage, I was too early, I was way too early to have ever considered moving out of like a class environment. I was so early into it, and I had so much to learn, and I was getting a lot more from being in class than I was from segregating and training on my own. And then once I got to a level, and this is a common thing, is to want to do competitive CrossFit, you need to follow a competitive program, and that's not really true. Particularly if you're just starting out, and I'll come full circle on this on the way back around. But once I got to a point where I was pretty happy with where I was at, I started to look around. I followed comp train for a little bit, mainly because it's free, and I also had the bunch of experience of what kind of GST did, and then I just started to program for myself, which was fine, and there was aspects of it I kept and aspects that I did on my own. So when I programmed for myself, I did lots and lots of single modality work. So it was if I'm doing ring muscle ups, I'm only doing ring muscle ups. If I'm snatching, I'm only snatching. But it followed a pretty basic structure of weightlifting, gymnastics, very simple Metcon. On a Monday, Tuesday was just Metcon. Wednesday was strength gymnastics, Metcon. Thursday active cardio, and really that's still the format I follow. And that took me up to a point where I was I'm actually better at this than I think I am, but I now need direction. If I want to take it from where I was then to where it is that I want to go, I can't do that on my own. Now, as an athlete, so straight away, Fraser, why didn't you go to someone from within the gym? I was well, mainly, I am a fucking nightmare to work with. When it comes to training and stuff, I have an absolute temper tantrum. Not to the point where you'll see it, but internally, I failure is just something that doesn't sit well with me, and I kick myself a lot, and to put someone that ultimately as well I have to work with through that, it wouldn't have been fair on them, and it wouldn't have been good for any degree of a working relationship. So that was when I started to be right, I need to go and suss this out, and see what was available. So to me, at that stage, GST became a more viable option. So why them? Because quite simply, they're the best at what they do. You're struggling to find a program that's as close to home as they are. So they're based in Wigan, that have produced so many high-level CrossFit athletes across the UK and the world. Last year they had 6 athletes at the CrossFit Games. All of them were based in the UK. Some of them obviously have dual nationality, but all based in the UK. They're still the only all UK team that's been to the Games. They've now done it twice. But not only on the world level, is that you go anywhere you go, the guys that are winning competitions around the UK were following CrossFit GST, and like for me, it was a no-brainer to follow them.
Yep.
But for me, that was because of that thing of I had to maintain a working relationship with people, and like my own competition aspirations were not worth ruining a working relationship. So in terms of what I believe about competitive programming, generally they're all the same. They all follow the same principles. Like if you were to lay out Liam and my program, they probably look exactly the same. It is basic progressive overload from start to finish. It's nothing fancy. They look the same. The thing about this competitive programming, it differs nothing from class programming in terms of your experience is made by the relationship you have. So if you have a good relationship with whoever your coach is, then generally it's going to work out for you.
Yep.
I believe that unless you are a coach in a gym and you're at a level where the coaches in your gym cannot service your competition aspirations, you should be seeking coaching from within your own gym. You should be absolutely sticking to class programming and then go and looking for those additional extras on top, because that's all competition programming is. Like the actual fitness part will mimic what a class program is. It's just the extras on top which make it different or make it particular to you. The difference being, like Liam and Mel pay for an individualized program, so they work one-to-one with a coach. Now, so what's different from that to per se someone else doing that? There's not much that our coaches could coach Liam on in terms of taking him to where it is that he wants to go. I couldn't do it because I don't have enough experience of doing it. Like I don't have enough sanctional comps or games experience to take him there. I don't have that knowledge of taking someone to a sanctional level athlete, which is the only reason why you would go to someone, is because they have that ability to do that. But if your aspiration is to go and do well at like a UK level comp, the coaches in your gym, wherever you may be across the UK, not just for us, the coaches within your gym will absolutely do that. So yeah, like that's the only reason I would ever say to someone to go and outsource it, is that if they're looking to go to that level, but you have to set your goals out, and if that is your goal or if it's not your goal, you'll do right by whatever your goal is.
Yep, 100%.
If that makes sense. Have I kind of covered all that?
Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. That's cool. I know we're a way to run over, but I've got 2 quick fire ones for you.
Okay.
Same as you asked Kirsty, you've done team and you've done individual. What do you prefer and why? Or if you prefer one over the other?
Individual. So I am so mainly because of the fear. So I have a fear factor of being in a team that I would let my teammates down. And then to flip the switch on that, I would really and some of the people in the group here have been in a team with me. Like I'll struggle to hide my emotion if a teammate has not delivered to what we've said we're going to deliver, and I find that hard. Pretty much wear my emotions like on my sleeve. Like I pretty much say things how it is. So like I find that difficult, at least on an individual level. Like it's me and me alone. I've got myself. Like I've only ever got myself to blame or on that front. So just for that reason, like individual all the way.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, that's cool. It's that thing of like you don't want to let someone else down, but there's that feeling of if someone else lets you down, it's hard to be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's hard.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I get that. Last one, maybe a difficult one for you unless you've thought about it. If you could program a workout for an individual comp, let's say, I don't know, for the games, for example, what would you like it to be? Not for yourself, but for you to watch, and why? Like, what would you like to see the other people do?
So in terms of, I did think about this a little bit. So for me, so the reason I love like CrossFit, and particularly like when you're looking at the high level like CrossFit events, is when they look aesthetically pleasing. So like you can look across the floor and see exactly where everyone's at. So like straight away you've created excitement. So one of my favorite events they've ever done was when they repeated 17.5 at the games. So for those of you who did that, it was like 10 rounds of 9 thrusters and 35 double unders. But they laid out all 90 barbells. So they had 10 people in a heat and they had a barbell for each person for every round. So like the spectacle like of all these barbells, and then them moving through the lanes as they went, and then like you just saw some like legitimate intense like racing. So kind of anything that's going to create that sort of spectacle. So lots and lots of stuff laid out, and you can see it build like over the time, and absolutely a workout where like people are like, because they've had to race so hard, they're on the floor, like they have no option to take that 20-30 seconds of being on the floor.
Yeah, break their own rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah. So the games do a great thing of that. There's a few. So the individual ones I do down in Northampton, you have a pull-up bar and a lifting platform, and that's your lane. That's your station the whole time, regardless of what the workout is. So you're gonna have like, for me being in that, never mind watching it, but James has been there and watched, and as I have no idea where I am, because there's 6 guys on my side of the rig, 6 on the other side of the rig. And if it's a 12-minute AMRAP, you have no idea if you're 3 rounds ahead or 3 rounds behind or 2 reps beside the dude. So that thing for an athlete and to watch, like for anyone watching, you're like, I don't know where anyone is until the end, until the judges say who's where. But
and you've got no option other than to go as hard as you can. Whereas like when you've got that structure and that layout, like you can sort of have like a look around and see like where everyone is. So yeah.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Is that all your questions, Liam?
Yeah, we covered the small guy, tall guy one. That was another one. But yeah.
Yeah.
Smash, man.
Small guys are taking over the big man stuff. Big Reggie. Does anyone have like any questions for anyone, for Kirsty and Steph? I'm going to bring you in. Steph, hit me up.
So obviously we've got the big friendly giant, and obviously Liam 5 foot nothing, and you've got your strengths. But for your average height, average build CrossFitter that generally might have a slight advantage at say weightlifting, but has to work pretty hard on everything else, would you encourage them to either how much time should they spend being extremely efficient at their strongest movements, as opposed to working on their weaknesses because they're not quite efficient enough at their strongest aspect to keep that if they neglect it, if that makes sense?
So it's like question being is like, how much time would they spend on each area? So do enough on your strengths to make sure that they're still strengths. Spend the rest of the time on your weaknesses.
Okay.
That like a fairly short fire answer to that.
Yeah. And I had another quick one for Kirsty. Do you feel like your injury is going to add anything to your coaching, as in like from having more empathy, or for people that have got injuries or struggling to do something at all?
I think it's opened me up to like ways of adapting things, and like, yeah, like I now know what it feels like. So yeah, like I wouldn't wish what happened to me on anyone who wasn't particularly pleasant. Like Liam and Mel witnessed me that morning. But but yeah, I think like adapting things to suit things, like I squat on one leg, squat to a bench. That doesn't really look that much like a squat, just looks like I'm taking a seat on the bench, but like I'm still working pretty hard. I still row, I can deadlift, so like there are certain things. And then like I jumped in on a Zoom class the other day. I intend to do so on Saturday as well, where it's got like burpees and stuff. Like for all that I would think about other people like adapting and modifying things, like I now know like what it feels like, if that makes sense. So yeah, probably, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Steph. Anyone else? Naz, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was like, this is a question for everybody. Like, where's the motivation that you get? Like, what I used to have was, I used to love going to competitions and watch everybody compete. Then finally, I get the chance to do it, and my heart was racing, obviously, because the full motivation I got being in a competition was amazing. And then I've lost it all. How do you get it back? And I don't want to, like, when it comes back to this, like, if I ever do a competition again by an individual or a team, I don't want to let down the team or let down myself.
Want to be better.
Yep.
Like, how do you start that, like, motivation again? Like, how do you, where's yours?
Put yourself in the position where you've got no choice. Enter a competition, and put the pressure upon yourself to be ready for it. Like sometimes that's all you need, is just fear. Sometimes a good thing. So by putting yourself in there and in the mixer, you'll certainly give yourself the push to train if fear is a driving factor, which for most people it normally is. But I would say put yourself in there and commit to doing it, and then I think you'll find that once you know the training's done, the competing will take care of itself.
Aye, okay.
Yep.
Sweet. Cheers.
Anyone else? No? Silence.
Boom.
Well, thanks. I hope you found it interesting. Maybe took a lot of things away. You maybe said, this is absolutely not for me. You maybe said this was a waste of time, but it was just nice to be able to have a little chat about it and put our opinions and get some different opinions. Thanks to Kathy and Kirsty for taking the time and giving up their evening to answer a few questions, different sort of perspective from different angles, which was cool. I'll stay on if you like for a little bit longer if anyone wants to ask anything a little bit more privately. But thanks again. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Bye. Cheers. Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Later.
Later.
Team.